Sure, yes. I mean, we know that there's an event that's got into MRIs and put that out, but she does have to spread it on pressure and foot. So they put it all on.
7 o'clock, people.
But they're not going to put her on a, it's not ready for shot.
I'm looking for Dr. Bennett.
Which is that kind of tangent there.
Call to order the Centennial School District School Board Work Session, regular meeting, Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Mrs. Roosh, can you make a roll call, please?
Mrs. Brancato.
Here.
Mrs. Crossan. Present. Mr. Gindhart.
Here.
Mr. Godikson.
Present.
Mr. Hartline.
Present.
Mrs. Lynch. Dr. McGuire.
Here.
Mr. Martin. Mr. Sadowski. We have 7 members present.
Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements. We had an executive session meeting to discuss personnel matters and a security update. Mr. Greenwood, you are up.
Pardon me?
Excuse me?
I thought Dana, I thought Dr. Ben had,
Excuse me?
I thought Dr. Ben had something to share, but.
He does, but he,
It says budget presentation, Mr. Greenwood.
You're first.
What's that?
You're first, Victor.
I have to change my plan.
Can I make a comment first that the flags are we just passed Memorial Day and for 4th of July, since we're not going to be here for the 4th of July. So
And Flag Day is Saturday.
there we go. Thank you. Sorry.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you very much. We are hopefully coming towards the end of the budget process. We have this meeting, and we have a meeting hopefully on the 24th to approve a final budget, hopefully get it done before the deadline of June 30th. So, not knowing that I was coming up first, I had this slide, but I don't want to steal the thunder of my colleagues, but the first 2 items that were discussed back in January at our workshop was continue to improve and focus on student achievement. And I think that is happening in abundance. Mr. Rutz and Mr. Gabriel and the teaching and learning group, as well as our teachers, our coaches, our specialists, our administrators, and most of all our students are really doing an amazing job. It is an amazing turn of events. We've talked about growth. We've got growth. Now we've got achievement, and it's really great news for the district. So there's a lot of great things going on, and you'll hear about them shortly. But all of that ultimately ties into the budget. A quick look at our timeline. We had posted our PDE 2028, which is the state's budget form that went online under the business office May 30th. We are posting our public notice of the intent to adopt. That'll be in this Friday's paper, and will leave us only the 24th to try to close this out. think as I talked about back in January, right, the budget process it's a long road. We get data throughout the year, throughout the last 6 months, to try to make decisions and understand where those costs are coming from. The current budget, which is, you'll see the various versions that have been shared at these meetings. The current budget shows $151,904,000 in revenue, with expenses of $156,447,000 in expenses, for a deficit of $4.5 million, and that assumes the full Act 1 increase of 4%. It's $4.5 million deficit. Okay. This slide shows the current forecast, right? So we've talked about this. We've had discussions within the Finance Committee as well. We are anticipating a roughly $2.7 million credit from the IU in this current year. That credit needs to be applied. I used to have this weird window, but going forward, credits are going to be applied to that current fiscal year. So we're going to need to apply that $2.7 million to our 24-25 school year. We should get it probably in September or so, but before December is what I've been told. So what we're looking at on this slide is our original budget for this year had $2.7 million coming from our debt service fund to offset our deficit. And what we're looking at now is keeping that money in the debt service account and utilizing that credit from the IU accordingly. There's also a 23-24 bill that will be outstanding that we had from the IU. The prior year, we were over our budget in IU services by $934,000. I'd like to pay that in this 24-25 school year to sort of clean the books and keep us then moving straight and narrow going forward. Any questions on that? That's sort of just the forecast piece. As we look at the budget, you can see here what jumps out probably first is, sort of at that operating margin before any fund transfers. We are at a deficit every year, including our forecasted year. But we are, 5 years of projected deficits. That will take us to 2030, and that deficit assumes the full Act 1 increase in each of those years. The Independent Fiscal Office, the IFO, had forecasted through 2029 as to what they expect the Act 1 to be, and that's what is calculated in each one of those years. In 2026, you'll see, along with it, the total deficit is at $4.5 million. We reduce half of that by or 2.7. If we then move that debt service transfer to this next year, that leaves us with $1.8 million an additional deficit that we'll need to work through. At the end of that year, our fund balance would be at $10 million. Okay? This slide just looks at the impact of the Act 1 increase at various levels, and the impact of that compared to the operating surplus or deficit. Starting at 0, so if we had a 0% increase, the annual taxpayer's tax bill would go down by $24.65 because of the farmstead rebate, assuming that they had applied for it. And our deficit would be 8.1, almost $8.2 million. On the other side of that, 4%, if we enacted a 4% increase, the millage rate would go to 173.0723. That would cost the median homeowner $143.62 after the homestead rebate. And the homestead rebate is really just looking at the change from one year to another. The homestead rebate this year, we are going to receive $3.3 million from the state. That's from gambling revenues that are collected. And that is, I think the last year was 2.9, so that number is growing every year. As we all watch, at least I do, a lot of sports and a lot of TV, there's an awful lot of gambling going on. So we are the beneficiaries of that to some degree. And then between those 2 points, between 0 and 4, there's each maturation of what those numbers look like. So the deficit ranging from the 4.5 million with a 4% increase to an $8.2 million deficit with a 0% increase. Any questions with regard to this chart? Seeing none, we'll move on. This slide is a slide that we have shared in the past and really is just the difference for the district's perspective between the Act 1 index and the board-approved increase. The board, we have not put forth a Act 1, we've not had an Act 1 increase, a full Act 1 increase in the past 5 years. So each year, we get a little bit further away from that number. So the top line is a hypothetical. If you chose the Act 1 increase each of those years, this year, because of that compounding impact, you'd have almost $92 million. Without that, the current plan would be about $89 million, a difference of $2.6 million just year to year as that goes on. So by not reaching the Act 1 index, the gap between these two lines will continue to grow, and as will our deficit, right? As will our deficit. And looking at the details, so the next couple of slides are going to be focused on our, you'll see 3 years worth of actuals, you'll see our forecasted 2025, and then our projections for 2026. Looking at the millage rate for the different districts in Bucks County, not this current year, but the prior year, FY24, Centennial was right in the middle, right? There were 7 that had a lower millage rate than us, and there were 7 districts that had a higher millage rate than us. There's some commonalities between those districts as noted. So we continue to focus on the revenue projections. There's a couple of changes that are going on within the economy. The first of those is our earnings on investments, right? The district invests in bonds, which we're very limited on the things that we can invest in. So as interest rates get pushed down, bond rates sort of follow suit. So when the interest rates were higher, the bond rates were higher. Our ability to make money from those investments was significant. In 2024, we had $3.4 million in investment income, which is fantastic, right? In 2022, in the midst of the COVID, when they pushed the interest rates down, right, to next to nothing, right, we had $66,000. So there's a grand swing of revenue that is in our system, right? We have been, throughout that period of time, we've been very cautious in our spending and in our planning to make sure that we were able to take those positive surpluses and put them into the debt service account, if you will, or debt service fund, which is sort of a rainy day fund for the district. That's been very helpful in increasing our overall capital fund and our fiscal stability. When I got to Centennial, I think our capital fund had, $300,000 in it, and we really needed to do a bond issue in order to just be able to get things done. We are in a much better place today, and I know that Back then, that was sort of the plan from the prior CFO. He said, we've got to get this bond deal done, and we did, and it worked out. But I think as long as we were able to continue to save money, to put money away, and we do have money for, those rainy days. We have money to buy buses. We have money to keep our facilities up to date. So those are all important aspects of the process. So that's the sort of the skinny on the local revenue. On the state side, right, the state, as I've complained for the last 3 years, we're no closer to a state budget today than we were in January. Sometimes I think my budget process moves slow. I feel I'm at least working on it for every month of the 6 months between January and today. I don't know if the state does, right? They talk about it, the governor shares something, there's some scruffle in the beginning, and then I don't think they really talk about it. I'm sure I'm mistaken. But, it's really in June that discussions seem to happen. And which is a shame because every school district is sort of in the same spot. We rely on, to some extent, money from the state, and while that gets negotiated, we don't have the luxury of not passing a budget. We don't have a luxury of putting it off until July, until we hear from them. We need to sort of commit blindly to move that forward. So what we are anticipating, and as not just research by myself, but also the Department of Education, our local PASBO group, we have expected basic ed and special education funding. We're looking at an incremental $209,000 increase over last year. For the prior 3 years, that number was over $800,000 a year, right? There was a big move by the state, by the governors, to put money into education. They are still doing that, but they are now targeting schools that are more financially distressed than our own district. And that's sort of where the money is going. So, $200,000 in special ed, that's a drop in the bucket. I hate to say. I don't mean to be naive or callous, but special education costs. I was just in a meeting earlier today. The IU costs, the IU hourly rate for services is up 8%. Before you buy a thing, right? You've got to then add people to that. It is an expensive proposition, and we are continuing to work through that. We have an excellent special education team led by Gina Ross, who's done a phenomenal job for us and a phenomenal job making sure our kids are where they need to be, which is first and foremost. But it is an expensive proposition, and $209,000 from the state, that's a pretty tough pill to swallow. So these are costs that if we're not getting the $800,000 from the state, there's nowhere else we can turn to, right? It's sort of a local revenue. I should probably build the chart differently and start with the Fed and move down, because at the end of the day, in Pennsylvania, it's up to local communities to fund public education, and that's sort of the rule, as it has always been. When I had children in my local school district and paid taxes, you didn't think about it. They've since moved out, they've grown up. We still keep paying the taxes because the school district is important, right? The school district is important to me in my area. It's important to all of you because it does support home values as well. So there is a component to that. At the state side, we got through that. On the federal side, we're now returned to pre-COVID levels. So for the past 15 years, the federal government has thrown in about $1.5 million. It's made up of title funding, it's made up of access Medicare funding, but that seems to be the number. I could look back as far as I could see, and that $1.5 million, you could always take it to the bank, but unfortunately it never gets never changes. As a board member, Mr. Miller used to say often, right, if it's not changing, it's declining, right? So he would often share that because it's not keeping up with inflation. Nothing has cost the same today as it did 15 years ago. Certainly not in the education space or in any operating space. Just a quick look at our enrollment, right? We had an enrollment study done last year. That enrollment study projected an ongoing increase for over the next 6 years in centennial enrollment, really starting at the elementary level. I think we are continuing to see that over the past couple of years, as well as we're seeing a change in our dynamics, right? We're seeing a change in what our student population looks like. We have a higher number of low-income students. We have a higher percentage of special education students. This shows 22% in 2024. I think this year's number is actually closer to 25% of our students have IEPs and special needs, as well as ELD students that aren't necessarily speaking English at home. That number is growing as well. So the overall population, our overall enrollment is growing, but the enrollment with kids with special needs is also growing, right? They have needs that we need to support and look after. And one of the earlier reports this year, Mr. Rutt stood before us, and what was great was, despite those challenges that these students have, all CSD growth, there was growth across the board for all CSD students, which is really fantastic. Just as a recap, because I think sometimes we lose perspective in terms of savings, so as the board challenged us, we went back and through the months of April, we looked at the savings, we looked at targeting savings. As we shared in one of the presentations, right, not all dollars and all sources are the same. Some things you just have to have. Some things are already in the contract. So the savings isn't as easy as just taking 5% across the board. But as we look at, historically, we've saved between $1.5 to $2 million a year in cuts and in reductions. Last year, we had some things we put off. Right, so we put off the tech refresh to save us $476,000. That was a good 1 year sort of stopgap, but we're going to pay that now. So this year we're going to have almost $800 million in tech refresh just because we skipped that year. If we look at what we have done in the past couple of months, we're at about $1.3 million in savings. That comes in part within technology.
1.4.
What's that? 1.4. Sorry, Dr. Bedden. It comes in technology. We saved probably $367,000 based on our retirement incentive that we had shared with the board and the board approved by increasing the number of days. I'm not sure if that's the straw that breaks the camel's back or that sends you off into retirement in a happy way, but we will probably save that, and that's really the difference between a salary of a retiring teacher and the salary of someone coming in lower on that scale. School districts, we went out to the schools. I met with each of the principals at every school, and I said, I need 5% of reductions. We need to find it. And we were able to do that, just over 5.1% savings at the school level. School level budgets are much smaller, so that 5%, $51,000 is meaningful to them. The average school budget is much smaller because most of the costs to education, short of the people, is really housed in the Department of Teaching and Learning. That's where the curriculum and all that data and all that information comes from. District-wide, when we look at the administrative groups, we look at the business office, we look at teaching and learning, we look at technology, we had reductions compared to the prior year of over $500,000, which is a much larger budget, but again, 2.8% savings. And our staff reorganization, which we did at the beginning of this school year, where we adjusted staff and responsibilities, that would save us, that is another $183,000 as we look at rolling that forward. For a total, the 4-year savings, as we look at, is over $6 million. So I think that is I appreciate the push from the board, but it's something that we do regularly as part of our budget process. On the expense side, contracted salary increases are wrapped up inside of that salary line. The teacher's contract that was approved last year, we're working through agreements this year with our Act 93 group, and next year with our support staff. So those assumptions are built in and calculated into that salaries line, as are the accompanying benefits. And within benefits, that is not just health care, it's PSERS, which is a large share. PSERS is now, it stayed flat. It's now starting to march north again. So we're going to go from 39 to 33.9 to 34% this year. And then I think it's going to be jumping at least 0.5% or a little bit more every year the following year. So PSERS had a big run-up from the early days when it was in the teens. Then it was making major jumps. The pension piece is a mandated cost for all school districts. We don't have a say in, Tom doesn't want it and this person does. It's a 34% mandated cost on every salary that we pay. If we look at the other areas, and across the board, a couple of areas jumped out. Growth in other purchased services, that grew $570,000 compared to last year. A couple of areas to call out. Within special education, we had an increase of $439,000 in outplacement services. We have a little bit of a turn, a twist, a little increase in charter tuitions for the past several years. Due to our CVLA program and the success of it, we've actually seen a steady decline. We're sort of seeing that level off right now. There is an opportunity in Harrisburg today that the governor had proposed, which was to cap cyber tuition at a flat number. The governor's number was $8,000 because, as he shared, it's cyber, so you could be anywhere you want to be, and the cost dynamics, it is much, salaries in southeastern Pennsylvania are much higher than salaries in middle Pennsylvania or further west. So it depends where you're at. So right now, cyber charter schools get what we pay for, right? So we're having a kid in cyber charter. We're paying for that kid at a rate of, almost $18,000 a year, right? In Middle Pennsylvania, they're not paying $18,000 a year for that charter, that same cyber charter experience. So hopefully, it seems like action is being taken, so there is opportunity there. But again, it's not a done deal yet, and we are probably far from that. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope we get some love there. Transportation within the IU, we use the IU in support of our own transportation needs. We have a jump in that line of $250,000. Supplies, which is somewhat of an ambiguous term, right? When I think of supplies, I'm thinking paper and pencils, batteries maybe, but within our PDE chart of accounts, supplies also include curriculum. So as we have talked about over the past 6 months, Mr. Rutz and his RFP that went out looking for a new aligned science curriculum. What's it called, Anthony? SciEd? Open SciEd, thank you, Open SciEd, which was the winner of our review. That list of curriculum is going to cost $400,000 this year. It includes Open SciEd, which is a aligned curriculum for science, K to 8th grade. We have Spanish and French curriculum coming up, and our Wit and Wisdom, which is our EL. Is that correct, sir? ELA, thank you. I knew I'd forget a letter. That is expanding to the 7th grade, right? And we've really seen great progress with this aligned curriculum. So I'm just going to use that word. Remember that when the smarter people get up to this podium, right, and talk about what wonderful things they've done, because it's really been a change in the district offering consistent, aligned curriculum under Dr. Bedden's leadership. It's been tremendous. So that just brings me back to sort of to where we started and to what we are projecting. along with the rate charts and where we have each of those. The board, you have all a copy of these in front of you. So, hopefully you can read them, as well as you have additional charts that look at the details, as you had also asked for at an earlier budget meeting, to see the nuts and bolts and not to see everything rolled up. So we tried to roll everything out and have some extra pages of reading for you. So that sort of brings me to my end, and I'll stop for a second and ask if anyone has any questions relative to the numbers and as to what we have shared this evening.
Mr. Greenwood, if I might.
Yes, Mr. Martin.
2 weeks ago, a proposed budget was adopted by the majority of the board with a deficit of $5.8 million.
Correct.
Somehow, I'll attribute it to your expertise. In the last 2 weeks, that has been reduced to $4.5 million somehow.
Correct.
Are
Yep.
you projecting any further reductions in that in the next 2 weeks?
I am not, although I'm keeping my eyes open, right? I don't, this is what I'm doing day in and day out right now. So this is the slide that you're referring to. So you're correct. May 27th, I stood in front of you and I said the proposed budget is one with a 4% increase, and that would leave us a deficit of $5.8 million. As we looked at our reimbursement that the district gets from state for PSERS and for Social Security, I looked at that a little closer. I analyzed where we were and what we were trending towards, so that was a number that increased, as well as tightening up the labor and the staffing numbers, right? As I talked to Mr. Hartline, we discussed that savings from the retirement savings, right? That was a number that went in that was worth, as I think the chart said, $378,000 or thereabouts. So that was another number that we were able to plug in as we sort of got through that process. Some things just, it takes some time to make sure we have everybody lined up and we're looking at the full group. So thank you very much for calling that out. Mr. Hartline, you next.
Mr. Martin, ask my question.
Okay. See if I can get back to the bottom. So with that, as I shared in the beginning, I'm going to be looking for the board, and I'll present this to the Finance Committee this week, to approve processing that 23-24 IU invoice in this current FY25 school year at a cost of $934,000. That wasn't already in our budget, but I'd like to process that and have that, utilizing our current fund balance to do that. It seems, no one asked any questions, but the move, instead of taking that $2.7 million from debt service this year and having a surplus, to leave it there, that seems to make the most sense. And I'll be looking for you. I will continue to reach out to board members and try to understand where everyone sits with regard to the Act 1 increase. Yes, sir.
And we had talked at previous meetings about our plans to try to restructure debt, et cetera. Have you placed any of those numbers, like when we went back through you had done the breakdown of the 1.4 million that we had anticipated, or cuts that were made? Are we just kind of holding steady on that for the time being, not knowing, because it's kind of the wild card as interest rates and what's going on? It
is. So I'm only holding out and putting it in the machine, right? So I haven't shown any savings. Those savings that will come from the refinance that we are hopeful to do towards the end of this summer, as well as a refinancing that we are sort of simultaneously pushing forward, that'll happen early next year, February of 2026. Those are both refinancings that we're looking to do to save money. Some schools refinance and they pull the money out, sort of like a home loan. You can redo your mortgage and take money out. What we did at the start of this year was to refinance and put those savings back into the bonds, which reduced and will save taxpayers upwards of $4 million over the course of that debt. We're looking to do something similar. The bonds that are refundable at this point are much smaller in size, so we're not expecting a $4 million windfall, but we are expecting a windfall, right? We're expecting some savings to come of that, and we're looking at pushing that back in to reduce our debt service, right? The district's debt service was second highest among schools in Bucks County, only behind Quakertown, where we had 12.9% of our debt service. Debt service made up 12.9% of our general fund expenses, right? So the first 12.9% goes to making sure you pay your debt. So we've been trying to work that down. That number is now south of that number, which we're very happy and proud about.
Yeah, so there's, to Mr. Martin's point, there is a potential for an additional savings, but
Yep.
we're really not going to be able to realize that until we get closer to the August, September
Sure.
timeline to do
And
it,
I think
depending on
those,
rates.
I think
and-
those things will help minimize that balanced
Right.
deficit that we have, right? So we're going to move 2.7 from the debt service fund in next year to cover that, but that's still left $1.8 million to cover, right? So things like the refinance could chip away at that. Things like the cyber charter in Harrisburg, right? That could save you $500,000 if the number was $8,000 capped, right? So there are opportunities out there because they're not known, because they're not committed to. I am a little sheepish, if you will, in trying to get out there on my own. Okay?
I do want to point out, too, that we'll call it a true-up for the IU, that $900,000.
Yes.
Where the IU used to lag in their billing, now this will make us, they've changed the way they've done their billing, this will make us even, so going forward, we will not be paying the 25-26 bill in 26-27. We're now going to be paying 26-27 and 26-27, et cetera, going forward, so there is no lag. So that will be a lot smoother for us to do budgeting going forward as well.
It should be. It
So
should be.
I have a
It makes it
question.
all the more important that we square
Exactly.
with those, because, the good news is we were a little bit over this year, and we're going to get the money back. Conversely, the prior year, you'd be paying that $900 and something thousand. Yes, Mrs. Crossan?
So I do appreciate you sharing with the community. Going to each school and getting the reduction, that's very impressive, and thank you for going above and beyond and getting that done. Has there been any guidance from our board, any suggestions that have been emailed, or any form of reduction that has been suggested to you from us?
There is not.
I was going to say, other than what we repetitively go over in finance,
So
it's tough. I mean, it's special ed is going up.
we're in a
and-
pickle here, because if we don't do the 4%,
Yes.
and that's a huge increase for our community,
It would mirror last year's.
yeah,
Yeah.
financially, we are not sound, and our
We're
board
not at
has
the
no,
moment. We're not at the moment. Yes.
Keeping in mind that, as well, there are things that are out of our control that we are getting double hit on. Example being increase in benefits, increase in special education costs, increase in the number of students that we're servicing. I mean, kudos to our administration. When you look at close to 25% of our students having IEPs, just the personnel hours to be able to evaluate all those students multiple times a year eats into our personnel heavily. And that number is just continuing to grow, and it's disproportional to, Act 1 increase. It's not that anybody be advocating for an 8% increase, don't get me wrong.
well, no, but all the things that you've mentioned, all of our community members are feeling.
Yes.
Increase at the grocery store, increase in electricity, so they're all taking the hit too. So it's alarming that we're not financially sound.
But-
And I know that you don't have control of that. We have control of the increases that we do.
Yep.
And we are not doing a good job.
I think it's a difficult, right? We're in a pinch right now, right? Because of things outside of our control. whether that is the state funding, whether that is federal funding, right? Whether those things are outside of one's control. So we're very limited in the things that, the levers we have, if you will. We worked very hard last summer to come up with what we thought was an improved prescription healthcare plan that is a self-funded plan, right? We spent a lot of time on it, spent a lot of work. Cost to employees went up as co-payments for those drugs, but the cost of prescription drugs, particularly specialty prescription drugs, has gone through the roof, right? 55% of our prescription drug expense is on specialty drugs, right? Servicing a group that's 1% of the total population within the district. So while we've tried, and I think we will continue to work on ways, as Mr. Hartline shared, of reducing costs, we are certainly in a bind and certainly need guidance from you, Mrs. Crossan, and the board in terms of how we want to move forward in this period of time. Because as we shared in the beginning, right, we're at the end of the line now. So we're going to have to put a stake in the ground. We're going to have to move forward. And understanding, you'll see the slideshow after this. It should make us proud because the money we are spending, we're spending it correctly, right? And, whether that's on the coaches, whether that's on the specialists, whether that's on our teachers, our support staff, right? All of those people make up the organization and more so our students, right? Those guys are crushing it. They are really doing a great job. It was great to be at graduation. It's always fun to do that, watch them come through. It was quite an experience this week.
Thank you for your hard work. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
So now that we've experienced the doom and gloom,
Pardon?
now that we've had doom and gloom, I'd like to take this opportunity to bring some joy. One of the things that when I arrived, there was a person to my far right, around the corner, diagonal over there, whose comments were about doing better. And then there was a person to the right of Ms. Brancato who, when is our achievement score going to go up? When is our achievement score going to go up? Yeah. So I would say that I'm thrilled tonight to have our OTL team come up and share with you the preliminary 2024-2025 growth and achievement data as I begin to wind down and end my time here in Centennial School District. I feel that for the people sitting here and those who are watching, we've done a Herculean job of getting a good return on investment, even with tax increases that remained over the past 5 years below the Act 1. The information you're going to receive showcases the remarkable academic recovery and impressive gains our students have made, particularly in mathematics since COVID-19 pandemic, because I arrived here in the midst of September 2020 when the bottom was falling out on everyone because of the impact of COVID and the pivoting that school districts had to make to try to still deliver services. I would say that the success is a direct result of our unwavering commitment to the district's mission and to effective implementation of evidence-based systems approach and consistent curriculum. We pushed, we made changes, and yes, the teachers have always been here. But what we did change is instead of asking them to carve a turkey with a spoon, we actually gave them knives to actually be able to take part in a meal to get better outcomes. It doesn't matter how great you are as a teacher, if you're not being provided a aligned curriculum, it won't work. And during this presentation, you will see how our strategic efforts have led to significant improvements across key areas. Mr. Rutz will share high-level data demonstrating the PSSA mathematics achievement has not only recovered, but it has surpassed pre-pandemic level. I mean, we have double-digit growth since 2021 and year-over-year improvements in mathematics, not only in growth, but in achievement scores. You'll also hear about the promising recovery in ELA, which is tougher to recover from. English language arts, especially when you saw the shift in the demographics of our population, they need more, and they will get there. That is not saying they won't get there. It just sometimes students are like popcorn. You put popcorn kernels in a microwave, they don't all pop at the same time. Every student doesn't pop at the same time.
I was wondering where you were going.
Yeah.
was getting
Meaning that
worried.
each kernel is different. Each kernel is different, is what I'm getting at. But you will see particularly strong growth in our upper elementary and middle grade levels, which is going to highlight that the students that have had more time in our curriculum that we've changed actually are showing the results. And even where it's down, still below pre-pandemic, you will see significant and/or improvements in every area from last year, even on our achievement scores. You will also see the compelling evidence that the local level assessments, and what that means to the people here is that we do those in between the state assessments. Because if we don't know what's happening with kids while it's like a doctor, we have to take the pulse to make corrections while we're getting ready for the state assessments, so we don't wait till that one test happens. And that is where we use Dibbles, iReady, and IXL. And the information from that corroborates that those positive trends and highlight the widespread growth of our students in early literacy, reading comprehension, and advanced mathematics. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, if our students can't read, they won't be successful in many things, period. Whether it's a science field, whether it's whatever field. If you can't read, you're destined for a struggle. I do want to end by saying on behalf of our dedicated team for the Office of Teaching and Learning, which has shouldered a lot, which includes a lot underneath it, that Mr. Gabriel and Mr. Rutz, as the Director of Teaching and Learning, have done a yeoman's job of responding to the requests. Mr. Gabriel told a story about his first interaction with me, which I did not remember. I really didn't until he brought it up, that his first introduction was a phone call for me after I was selected, and I asked him, why are our scores so low? This can't be indicative of the children in our school district. And then he said he called Joe Rutz and said, oh my God, we're in trouble. This is a data guy. So we look forward to sharing this. It's an overview, but I could not leave without celebrating the work of our kids and letting you see that the foundation is laid. We have a chance to continue to do better. And we're headed in the right direction. And the money that we have placed, and I know it's a lot that you've paid for, but I'm telling you, those little kiddos are worth every dime, and you're getting better money, getting a better return on your investment than we have in the past. So, Mr. Rutz.
Thank you, Dr. Ben. Let me just preface this by saying this is a sneak peek, and this is based on preliminary data. Tomorrow at the Education Committee, I'll be doing a presentation, more full-blown presentation with my crew, my three amigos tomorrow, to do a preview of a fuller presentation that we'll share out on June 24th.
And by the way, if the preliminary data they provide to me is incorrect, blame it on them.
Right, there we go. I'll blame it on DRC. Okay. I'm going to skip some of this for the sake of time, if you don't mind. Two of my favorite norms, however, embrace growth and continuous improvement, and keep decisions in the best interest of our students. These are mantras that the Office of Teaching and Learning lives by. As Dr. Benton says, preliminary data that we're going to look at for local data, and then the PSSA data that just dropped on Friday of last week. For kindergarten and third grade, and I'll be sharing more again at the end of the month in the fuller presentation. All grades K through 3 scored above the national end of year benchmark. God bless you. And that's great. Every grade, K3, scored above the national benchmark for the end of year. And we had spoken earlier, I think in October, the fall local data assessment. We spoke about how students kiddos coming into kindergarten, coming out of the pandemic, have been further and further behind the national benchmark when they've come to us. So to see that we're maintaining now, several years going on, that by the end of the year, those kiddos are not just at the benchmark, but they're rising above that, is good sign programmatically for us. Again, I'll go into more detail later on, but the iReady diagnostic, which is K-8, in reading, we had about 950 students move from tiers 3 and 2 into tier 1 by the end of the year. Tier 1 is on or above grade level. So we moved 950 students, which is more students than 5 out of 6 of our school buildings in the district. I always talk about the bucket of growth with iReady that we have. Think of a bucket as 100% available to students to grow. Students achieved about 137% of their expected reading growth. That's not also awesome. It's also third year running of above 100%. Last year was 132% of growth at this time. We've exceeded that. For mathematics, we've moved about 1,400 students from tiers 3 and 2 into tier 1 in math. 1,400 students is almost the enrollment of William Tennant High School. Those students achieved about 119% of their available growth. And again, that's above last year, which was sitting at about 115% at the end of the year. I excel, and I'll share more charts again later on in this month. Reading grades 9 through 11 showed strong growth in all reading areas, reading strategies, vocabulary, grammar, writing, etc. Grade 11 showing very good growth in vocabulary as well. Math 9 through 11 on the end of year diagnostic for I excel. All grades showed improvement across the board in algebra and geometry, and this was good to see. Grade 11 in algebra 2, especially, that is the year for algebra 2. You'll hear me say this again many times. 9th grade's focus is algebra 1, 10th grade is geometry, 11th grade is algebra 2. To see those spikes in those years that they're focused on those standards and that instruction is a great accomplishment. This is preliminary PSSA data. This dropped again last Friday. What you see in the darker bar to the left are last year's percentage of students scoring proficient and advanced in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the furthest bars to your right, I'm sorry, my back's to the audience here. To your right, that's all grades. That's a composite score. What you see in the lighter gray bar are 2025s. That's this year's PSSAs. Because we were proactive 3 years ago and moved to online testing for the PSSA, we also qualify for early reporting, and that's why we get our PSSA scores this quick. Unfortunately, that doesn't apply to Keystones. We usually get them midsummer. I wish they were quicker. But what you can see here is that 83% of the grades scored above last year's scores. And I'll go grade by grade in a moment. This is grade 3. Now, although we've seen a decrease from 2021, we're starting to see an increase tick back up. And again, still dealing with some residue from the pandemic and students and our population demographics. I believe third grade is the largest cohort we have of ELD students. That is a factor, not a reason. It's a factor. We're continuing, it's only year 2. With Wit and Wisdom, our standards-aligned ELA curriculum that we put in, again, a year ago. So we're doing with that. You'll see grades 6 through 8 are starting to score. Their scores are starting to increase. That kind of end of the line, students who have been in a program for numerous years. Grade 3 had a slight decrease this year. Again, we're going to continue to monitor that. It's not unexpected in year 2. You're going to hear me make a connection between where we are with math in a few minutes and where we are in contrast to that with ELA. Grade 4, really good sign. You remember earlier in October, we talked about, I think Mr. Godikson, it was you who pointed out, because we talked about this in Ed Committee, the national and state drop in 4th grade scores nationally in reading. It's not something that was a surprise. We've seen it nationally, but now we're starting to tick up. Again, a good sign because we're starting to go into several years of a standards-aligned curriculum. 5th grade saw an increase as well year over year. So very happy to see that. And what you start to see in grade 6, 7, 8, you'll see this in a second. This is only the first year of Wit and Wisdom. For 6th grade. We're moving it into 6th grade this year, 7th grade next year, the 8th grade after that, as we're moving away and transitioning away from Springboard, the College Board curriculum that is being sunset. So we had a fairly large increase year over year, just in the year 1 of implementation with 6th grade. 7th grade, we're pushing 60%, which is a really good sign. 6 out of 10 students scoring proficient or advanced on the PSSA. That's 7th grade. And 8th grade also hitting 59%, having a great jump over last year as well. Statistically, these are very good signs, very good jumps year over year. This is year 4 of Springboard. We're going to talk about math again in a minute, how many years we've been in that curriculum. What you start to see, and I know I don't have Keystone scores up here, but if you remember when we shared state data in November 24th, I think it was before Thanksgiving, we saw an 11% jump in Keystone literature scores. And those increases have been going up because students are matriculating through a standards-aligned reading program through the system. So when they're in there longer with consistency and time, you start to see achievement pop. Mr. Goddickson after years of growth, so it's a good sign. This is mathematics. Again, 83% of students, PSSA grades 3 through 8, increased the number of students scoring proficient or advanced. Anything in the dark gray bar are 2024 scores, and in the light gray bar, 2025 scores. And again, I'll break these out individually by grades. Pretty good. No, thank you, thank you, Tom. Pretty good. Grade 3, increase over last year. Again, you can see the trend line. Let the graph speaks for themselves a bit. You can see where we were coming out of the pandemic with scores and where we are now. I should have pointed this out earlier, and I apologize I didn't. You can see that one of the notes I added here, it might be tough to see, but we are not only above levels of pre-pandemic, but the highest levels we've hit since 2015. So when Dr. Bennett talks about exceeding where we were that year before pandemic or coming out of that, that's awesome. That's great. We're also seeing achievement levels highest since they've been going back to 2015. Grade 6 in math. Again, this is year 6 of CPM math. When you get into those years, teachers have a chance to master the content and teaching the instruction. Students have gone through, matriculated through a curriculum. You start to see these results. Grade 7, we're shining a light on a little bit, see what that drop could be. It could be cohort related, we're not sure. But the good thing is in grade 8, it pops back. It pops back. Again, highest level since 2015. Just some key points, evidence-based systems approach. We've talked about curriculum, instruction, assessment, and systems for years. We wanted to just show a different chart here to give a little bit of a different perspective. The red line you see is pandemic, and the dotted line is when we got back to testing. So you can see here in math, especially grades 3, 4, and 5 have been aligned to a standards curriculum, the longest. You can see that. We still see, if you look at grades 6 and 8, they are starting to trend in the right direction. We put a little note here, 3 to 5 years. Educational research, evidence-based research shows it takes about 3 to 5 years of consistent implementation of aligned curriculum to start seeing positive student outcomes. Here's ELA. I mentioned earlier, it's lagging a little bit, if you will. We're seeing really good results. We're doing great growth. Where we're lagging a little bit in achievement is because students have not had exposure to those curricula for as long as we're seeing in math. We're starting to see that increase, even in wisdom in year 2. But again, remember what I said earlier when we saw that increase in ELA in grade 6, 7, 8, I mentioned Keystone literature. Those students have been in Springboard for 4 years. So having that time and consistency starts to have a positive effect on student achievement. Why our students continue to grow and achieve? Again, clear goals for teaching and learning. Say this a million times, curriculum, instruction, assessment, and systems, well-supported teachers, a positive school learning environment, and effective use of data to make decisions. Can I take any questions from anybody or Dr. Bennett, or any follow-up comments?
That's fantastic. Thank you. Great job.
Many thanks to the team. Mr. Greenwood mentioned earlier, coaches, math specialists, reading specialists, administrators that work in the Office of Teaching and Learning, student services, silos have been broken down. We are one big team, and we're all rowing in the same direction here. It's people. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, Mr. Rutz, you stole my thunder kind of, but I wanted to just build on what you said. It's easy with all those charts and numbers to lose sight of what really matters is the people that implement this. No matter the quality of the curriculum, no matter what books you buy or whatever you put in place, if you don't have quality people to implement it, it goes nowhere. So that's everybody, central administration, building level administration, teachers
have bun great with
support
these curricula.
staff.
Yep.
Without everybody being quality, it doesn't go anywhere. And, we've heard, ROI mentioned a couple of times, return on investment. The return of the grades or how great, and those numbers. Yeah. But the investment is the people. And without the ability to attract and retain quality
Absolutely.
people, we don't go anywhere. And students, they don't go anywhere.
Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure that doesn't get lost, that's the most important part of it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out, when you looked at the pyramid,
Yeah.
in this case, it's better to be at the bottom than at the top.
I'll be sharing out the tiered pyramids more tomorrow. You'll see that little preview for you, Mr. Koenig.
Take a look at it.
But we'll talk about that, more specific numbers, to have the three of you preview that, and I'll break down that data a little bit more tomorrow. But it's really good to see that many students moving in through our system. Again, considering our demographics, and you've heard me say it a million times, growth comes before achievement. The growth matters. Where we take students from September to June matters a great deal. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to finish, if you give me 2 minutes to celebrate, did they have it, Colleen, that we asked for? Yes. I would be remiss, because it's a significant milestone, if we don't take a moment to recognize Richard Cutts for his service to Centennial. And there was our new communications and marketing specialist was able to get Fox News to come out. So if you didn't see it, you're going to get to see it now. And we just want to, and to all those people over there, they transport about 4,000 kids every day, twice a day, out of our 5,300. But this is a milestone that very many people won't ever come close to reaching. So give me 2 minutes, about 2 minutes. We'd be remiss if we didn't close out with another joyous, happy moment rather than Tom Greenwood's doom and gloom.
All day in Bucks County, honoring the incredible legacy of this school bus driver. Rich Kutz served the Centennial School District for more than 5 decades.
He finished his last route today, just shy of his 80th birthday. Our Kelly Rule was there for the send-off.
I just take it day by day, that's all.
Day by day for 53 years. Rich Kutz made this walk at the Centennial School District Transportation Yard to board a school bus to head out on his Warminster route. This part has certainly changed over the years. The first school bus he drove had no power steering and manual doors, no radios.
You had a lever here and you just reached over and you opened up the door that way. It was a 6 shift, 4 on the floor. You had a double clutch. A lot of times you could start off in second gear, which was a brake.
Kutz says his decades behind the wheel was one of 2 jobs for some time, as he also worked for 46 years at SPS Technologies. His wife by his side, gaining 2 children and 5 grandchildren of his own over the journey, but also becoming a part of so many other families.
The one family, I've been taking their children in over 14 years.
Kutz says with that one family, he just finished driving their youngest child after driving their 3 older children, fitting as he also drove his last route today. Just shy of his 80th birthday, he says it's officially time for retirement.
If you take it day by day, you're here, it's 53 years, It's hard to believe. It might strike me maybe tomorrow or next week or whatever that I'm finished, but, after 53 years, you get tired. Be able to sleep in a little bit.
and his colleagues couldn't let him go without a proper send-off.
You have to have patience, a lot of patience, and that comes with experience, which Rich had quite a bit of it.
Congratulations.
Presenting him with the crystal for decades of transporting the district's precious cargo, and this bench with a plaque in his honor, which will stay at the transportation yard.
I'm happy for him, and I'm sad that he's not going to be here any longer, because we always gave each other a thumbs up on the road.
Your body can tell you when you're ready to go. That's for sure. I have a few things going on, yeah, but nothing definite. Yeah.
Number one is sleeping in.
Number one, yeah.
In Warminster, Kelly Rule, Fox 29 News.
Hello, I'm Ricky Sayre here at Harding High School. Usually when...
So, congratulations to him, and thank you to Chris for arranging that, and then the team for reminding us to take that moment and getting that loaded up for today to recognize one of our own. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward with the approval of the agenda. Be it resolved that the Centennial School District Board of School Directors 4.1 approves the June 10th, 2025 board agenda as per attached. Are there any corrections that need to be made that are allowed by PA law?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hartline. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Public comments by residents on agenda items. We don't have any that are on agenda items. Could we move to 6 consent agenda, Mr. Goodson?
Okay, we have a number of items. Can we move them all together? Seeing no objections. Be it resolved that the Centennial School District Board of School Directors, 6.1A, approves the minutes of the May 13th, 2025 work session, regular school board meeting. 6.1B, approves the minutes from the May 27th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. 6.2, personnel. 6.2A, in-service passing. 6.2B, terminations. 6.2C, rescinded job offer. 6.2D, resignations. 6.2E, authorization to employ. 6.2F, leaves of absence. 6.2G, end of assignment. 6.2H, change of status. And 6.2I, teacher leaders. 6.3, exceptions to policy, we do not have any. 6.4, appointments, we do not have any. 6.5, waivers, none. 6.6, conferences and travel. 6.6A, approves the overnight conference request for the communication and marketing specialist to attend the National School Public Relations Association Annual Conference, July 19th to the 23rd, 2025 in Washington, D.C. District cost not to exceed $2,381.60. 6.7, bids and quotes. 6.7A, approves the 3-year renewal of managed methods and a K-12 cloud security management tool effective June 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Total district cost for 3 years not to exceed $57,498. 6.7B, approves the 3-year quote for the purchase of Mimecast through the Bucks County Intermediate Unit. Total district cost for 3 years not to exceed $29,670. 6.8, assemblies, speakers, and programs, none. 6.9, district licenses and services. 6.9A, approves the technology pool consortium agreement with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit for the 25-26 school year, district cost not to exceed $880. 6.9B, approves the renewal of the Valley Day School ESY 2025 program contract for student 11-13 for the summer program 2025. Tuition is based on the needs in the IEP. Projected cost for student 11-13 is $9,167. 6.9C, approves the renewal of the Valley Day School ESY 2025 program contract for student 4-12 for the summer program 2025. Tuition is based on the needs in the IEP. The projected cost for student 4-12 is $9,167. 6.9D, approves the renewal of the Valley Day School ESY 2025 program contract for student 5-18 for the summer program 2025. The tuition is based on the needs in the IEP. The projected cost for student 5-18 is $9,167. 6.9E, approves the 2025-2026 renewal agreement between Lakeside Educational Network and the Centennial School District for in-school counseling services and student placement slots as per the attached. The total amount due in for 5 in-school counselors is $465,000. The total amount due for 13 student placement slots is $538,850. The total amount of contracted cost for Lakeside Educational Network is $1,003,850. Additional services and costs will be determined as required by the student's IEP. 6.9F, approves the renewal agreement to participate in the Pennsylvania School-Based Access Program, SBAP, for the 25-26 school year, no cost to the district. 6.9G, approves the agreement with Source for nurses to provide substitute services for the RN and LPN nurses effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. District cost is determined by the use at rate as per attached. 6.9H, approves the agreement for student 18-8. District will pay $5,900 for the parents' legal representation. 6.9I, approves the agreement for student 1-7, providing an educational fund in the amount of $4,875 for legitimate expenses as defined in the agreement and reimbursement of parents' legal fees in the amount of $4,000. Total is $8,875. Textbooks, none. 6.11, acceptance of donations, grants, and requests, none. 6.12, change of academic programs, positions, and stipends, we have none. Second by Mr. Ginhart. Any discussion?
So I just wanted to...
Question, Mr. Godekson?
Sure.
Someone could answer for me. In 6.9H and I, why do we pay parents' legal expenses?
Will Gina answer that? Gina Ross will answer.
Hi, good evening. That's oftentimes part of the negotiations that our attorneys and their attorneys work together to identify. It is part of almost every agreement that you would see coming past you.
My question still is, why? If the attorneys want to go out together and you pay mine, I'll pay yours, and everybody's happy, why is that something that the school districts do?
So the case law that it's connected to due process cases and things like that, oftentimes school districts are liable for. So that is a common piece of that. So if you go to a due process and you lose a due process, you're automatically required to pay for those attorney fees without negotiations, things like that. So
The school districts will always lose in these court cases. They never win.
That's not
Get better
always
lawyers
true.
then.
I think Jane wanted everyone to know that she's been on the call since 7:05 watching the meeting. We just can't hear her.
She had to unmute herself, and now we hear her phone now, so she should be able to speak now.
Are you there, Jane?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect.
Thank you, thank you.
Any further discussion on these items? See none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 8-0 now.
Thank you.
New business. Or do we want to do these separate?
Old business.
Oh, old business first. All right, 7.0. 7.1, be it resolved that the Centennial School District Board of School Directors removes from the table the Act 93 Administrators Compensation Plan effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029. This item was tabled at the May 27th, 2025 board meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ginhart. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 8-0. All right, now moving on to new business. And we will take them one at a time.
Yeah, because I do want to discuss 8.1.
Be it resolved that the Centennial School District Board of School Directors, 8.1, approves the Act 93 Administrators Compensation Plan effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ginhart, and then Mrs. Clausen would like to comment.
I understand why we were going to do the 3% across the board, because that's what we've been giving. But everyone got a chance to see our budget, that we have no money. It's not a shock, it's not a surprise, it's we don't have the funding. So the previous Act 93, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Greenwood, it was 1%, and then it would go up based on the resources that we have available. So they still got the increase, but it wasn't in a contract that they would get that full 3%. And unfortunately, when it comes to our budget, many of our board members don't vote for an increase. Without an increase, the 4%, we cannot afford this. I can't stress it enough. The taxpayers are going to fund this. We cannot afford to keep putting money out that we do not have. So if we could change it to what it previously was, it was 1%, and then the resources that we had available, we would still give it to them, but if we didn't have it, it wouldn't be all on our community. Now, is that accurate, Mr. Greenwood, that it was 1%, and then we still were able to, once we had the resources?
That was
But it wasn't in a contract, we weren't obligated to do it.
Yes, there was a minimum of 1%, and then we utilized the resources that we had, whether that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, to assess what increase was. And there was never an increase below actually 3%, but you're correct, it was, the agreement was 1%.
So if everyone wants to agree right now to a 4% increase, that's fine. But our board usually does not do that, so we will not have the money to do this. So a yes for this is saying, yes, I want to pay you this because we do, but saying yes to this, we don't have the money.
It's important to recognize that 4% is on the tax increase and not on the salary increase.
So this, Mr. Greenwood, what does this end up being? What percent? I thought didn't we say 3.4% increase? 3.46.
To Mr. Godek's, the 4%, I think, is the Act 1.
The Act
number,
1.
right? Yes.
But if we
The
don't
salary increase is, almost 3.5%. It's 3.46% increase over the current year.
And not with the doom and gloom, but in 2 weeks when we do the budget, if we don't do the full 4%, how are we going to pay for this?
That's where we'll have a problem.
That's what I'm saying. Our board members don't usually put through that 4%. We cannot afford this. We have no money.
The other piece to this is that you're correct. It's a tough balancing act between budget and between getting quality people. And as we have seen with our test scores going up, all the improvement, it's due to the people doing a great job. Building administrators are a big part of that. Building principals, building assistant principals. So the choice, I think, that's facing us is we need to be able to have quality people, and to do that, there has to be certainty for people, know what's going forward for them. So if we shortchange those people too much, we're not going to be able to retain or attract new people when people retire out. So there's the money aspect of it, but there's also going forward looking at making sure that we have the right people and we can attract and keep the right people to keep our students going in the right direction and achieving what they're achieving.
Since this is going to be a legal document, Mr. Greenwood, would we be able to update it to the way the words were, the 1%, and then with the resources, they did not get the 3%, but in the wording, we could use 1%, and then if the resources are available, we'll use them. Then we won't be obligated if we don't have the funds.
Mrs. Crossan, you can't update a contract just because you want to. It has to be agreed upon.
We can't do a contract we can't pay for either, Mrs. Brancato. We can't afford this.
I beg to differ, but go ahead. Mr. Hartline.
So, if I may here, I would request that the negotiating team on both sides, which has done a monumental job, it is, I mean, I'll go back to, with the exception of one individual up here, we are all volunteers. We all spend our time and volunteer to do this, and a lot of it is extracurricular activities that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees. You see the board meetings, but you don't see the phone calls where I'm on the phone with Mr. Greenwood 2-3 times a week. You don't see the negotiating team that'll spend 3, 4, 5 nights with the Act 93 agreement group going over things to tweak out contracts, the endless nights that go into collective bargaining agreements with the teachers and all of that. We are in a very difficult situation. I would request that the negotiating team goes back with the negotiating team from the Act 93 agreement, because you can't just say up here, we're going to change it, because it is a negotiation. They have to go back and forth. They have to meet with them and hammer out the details, okay? That we do some type of hybrid of the previous agreement and this agreement. I know we have had some discussions surrounding days being given back and paid for vacation time and all those types of things. Keeping in mind that we all know that the expense of employment continues to rise. Everybody is cognitive of that. We saw that on our budget presentation, and it compounds across the board. We are paying 12% more for services this year in special education that we are outsourcing than we did last year, because we are paying for their increases in salaries and their increases in benefits and their increases in fuel oil and heating and all of that as well. So I respectfully request that the negotiating committee goes back with Act 93, hammers out some type of a detail, maybe somewhere in between, that will soften some of the information. We heard some positive things, but we have no control about those positive things. This is one item that we do have some control over.
The only way to proceed forward with this would be to table this agreement one more time.
Can we, and I will yield to Dr. Bedden on this one as our parliamentarian for the most part. Can we table this with some type of collar as to the board's direction that has come up here, or do we just need to table it and have the negotiating teams meet once again?
Can I just ask, how many times have we tabled this already? Once, okay.
You can ask for something to be tabled, and so you can table it again, and you can add a expectation to your point, table it with a motion that it comes back with your comment of a hybrid. And then you all would have to vote on that, obviously, for it to happen.
Would we be able to have Mr. Greenwood take lead on that? to make sure it gets done?
Well, no, because the negotiations has
He's our
always.
CFO, though.
I understand that, but negotiations, face-to-face or not, have always been the preview of the leadership team of the board, and they then invite in whom they wish to have negotiate with them. So I don't know that.
The masters of the money over here, we wouldn't include him?
But that's,
That doesn't mean that's the way it's done.
yeah,
I am part of this board and I'm requesting it. I'm just asking.
It's not done by the administration.
It's not your decision to
Done
make.
by
It's
the
a team
board.
decision.
It's done by the board.
He
It's
is
not
in
done
charge
by
of
the
our funds.
administration. He doesn't negotiate.
He is the only expert here about money.
He doesn't negotiate contracts.
So whatever action you take, you got two requests, and either way, both requests need to have an action on the board. So if you ask for it to be tabled with your parameters, then that needs to be taken up with a vote.
Second.
Mrs. Crossan's statement would still have to be a motion and a board vote on, else to the point it's the board. Even the negotiating team is subject to the majority of the board. So that's the only way it can happen. One board member can't, that every action has to be at least the majority of the board, in this case, that's here. So someone needs to either move forward or make a motion, some motion to move this.
So allow me to pose a hypothetical here, because we have an even number of individuals tonight, and it is a 4-4 vote.
No, you don't.
Yes, we have an even number with you, Mrs. Lynch. Mr. Sadowski is
okay.
not present. So we would have, if we were to end up in a tie, so let's say that, we have a tie of not tabling it, and then a tie
fails.
of it not passing, it doesn't, theoretically is then tabled or has to be brought back up. At
Right, at this meeting, it fails.
I just want to
4-4 is
clarify how
equivalent of
we.
a failing, yes.
And a 4-4 on a contract would also fail the contract.
Correct. So, but it could be brought back at the next meeting is the point, yes.
I mean, have to be brought back because this needs to be finished by July 1.
We
Well,
tabled it the
what
last
happens
time.
is by law, if you don't do anything with this contract, typically what happens is you just operate up under the current status quo.
What did the negotiation, the team decide or talk about this, can we say that, the last 2 weeks since we tabled it the last time? What was their thoughts about?
The same things are said over and over again by the same people.
So the sticking point is just the 3%, right? The increase.
So 3% across the board instead of the 1%, and then if the funds are available, we give more, which we've always had, but we've had that option.
With the other contracts, we didn't give the stipulation, if we have more, we give more. We gave them the 3%.
That, Mr. Greenwood, please correct me if I'm wrong, isn't their current contract, that's what it reads?
I'm not talking about that.
But they still got better than 3% last year.
Is there someone,
Same problem.
So if you want this tabled, somebody has to make a motion to table it.
can I just ask a question? Is there someone here that represents the negotiation
Can't
team?
put him on the spot.
But you can't put those individuals on the spot.
That becomes a public negotiation.
Yeah, you can't put him on the
That's
spot
not-
like that.
But is it usual for our CFO
And
not
let
to be
me,
part of that?
let me correct on the record also, because we're saying negotiation. Act 93 by state law can't negotiate. It's meet and discuss. So I just want to correct the terminology that exists by state code.
I just don't understand how our community pays for Mr. Greenwood, who's our CFO, who's an expert in this, and he's not included?
That's not true.
Well,
We've
does he
received.
sit in with you?
We received lots of information from Mr. Greenwood.
It's run by the CFO. The CFO doesn't sit in on the actual discussions with Act 93 people. Once information is obtained, agreements are made, it's run past the CFO, who is absolutely engaged and involved, giving us his information.
Mr. Greenwood, were you engaged and involved in this contract?
I think what you're asking is, does the CFO actually sit in on the conversation? That's not the way it works.
The community pays him a ton of money
And
to
he
make
is
sure our
involved.
contracts are good.
He's
So
given
why
us-
is he not the lead of it?
Three, four
Mrs.
emails
Crossan.
with the financial impact.
Yes, Mrs.
Four
Lynch?
emails or something.
The negotiating team has the option whether to bring in Mr. Greenwood or not. That is their option.
Thank you, Mrs. Lynch.
So we rely on somebody who's not an expert when we have an expert. Is that what you're telling me?
That is untrue.
Mrs. Crossan, the negotiating team has the option of bringing in Mr. Greenwood. It is wise to do so, but it is their option, period.
Thank you, Jane.
Have done. Which we have done. We've received
Can we move
several
on,
emails.
please?
And an executive session at the last meeting where Mr. Greenwood gave us information.
Madam Chair,
Numerous emails and an executive session where we have gotten information from him.
for the sake
He
of
has been involved.
time, I would go back to Mr. Hartline. You're either going to,
Mr. Hartline made a
motion
motion,
or-
Mrs. Crossan seconded.
yes. So if you got a motion, it needs to be acted upon. So
It was more for discussion, but at this point, I'll make it as a motion.
You got a
Second?
So we have a motion to table item 8.1.
but you had parameters with that.
7.1.
You requested.
7.1. Okay.
Yes, hold on.
Mrs.
Right, with parameters to have a contract more similar to a contract, an agreement more similar to the previous one with a base plus an escalator at the discretion of the board. Would that sound correct?
Right, we're technically just voting on tabling this agreement.
But with parameters, he put.
You have to table it first.
Okay. Then just the table.
Mrs. Rush, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Martin.
Aye.
Mr. Hartline.
Yes.
Mrs. Crossan.
Yes.
Mrs. Brancato.
No.
Mr. Gindhart.
No.
Mrs. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Godekson.
Yes.
Dr. McGuire.
Yes.
Motion to table passes 6-2.
Now, if you have those requests for that adjustment to the negotiation team, you can make that as a motion, and then the majority of the board has to decide, or else it'll come back as is next meeting.
I don't want to tie the hands of the negotiating team. That's not what I want my intent to be.
Then you
So
don't
I
have
don't
to
necessarily
make
know
the
that I
motion.
want,
What's going to happen is they could bring it back just so you know.
Without it.
Yeah,
So,
okay, all right.
I think we need to be clear on what the hangup is, right? So we know what to do going
I
forward.
mean, in that case, I'll make the motion to come back with an agreement to see if they can negotiate with the Act 93 organization to come back with a contract with increases similar to that of the existing 1% with escalators at the board's discretion based upon financial considerations.
Second?
Now you need to do a roll call. Yeah.
Mrs. Lynch.
Yes.
Dr. McGuire.
Yes.
Mr. Godekson.
Yes.
Mr. Gindhart.
No.
Mrs. Crossan.
Yes.
Mr. Hartline.
Yes.
Mrs. Brancato.
No.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2.
Then you wonder why people leave.
Well, moving on to 8.2, approves the MOU with the YWCA for kindergarten boot camp, June 23rd through July 27th, 2025. District cost not to exceed $15,644 as per attached.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Crossan. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Bless you.
Passes 8-0. 8.3, affirms as prescribed in Board Policy 304, employment of district staff. The Board of School Directors authorizes the superintendent to make the required employment decisions in staffing for 2025-2026 school year from June 25th, 2025 through August 18th, 2025, in order to maintain the continuity of educational programs and services. These personnel actions will be presented to the board for retroactive approval at the meeting on August 19th, 2025.
Second.
second by Mr. Hartline. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 8-0.
All right, moving on to policies, 9.1 policies for initial distribution or discussion, there are none. 9.2 policies for adoption, we have 3. Does anybody want anything pulled? 9.2, policies presented for adoption, be it resolved, the Centennial School District Board of School Directors approves 9.2A, Policy 103, discrimination, harassment affecting students. 9.2B, Policy 104, discrimination, harassment affecting staff. 9.2C, Policy 234, pregnant, parenting, married students. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Carries 8-0.
Moving on to finance. Does anybody wish to have any of the 4 items pulled? Seeing none, be it resolved that the Centennial School District Board of School Directors approves the schedule of bills, investments, cafeteria fund budget reports, general fund cash receipts summary, May 2025, as per the attached. 10.2 approves the 2025 budgetary transfers for May, as per the attached. 10.3 approves the pending bill list, as per attached. 10.4 accepts the pre-approved bill list, as per attached.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Godekson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0-0.
11.1, board discussion and comments. Does anybody have anything? Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a comment and a question. The comment is, I just want to congratulate folks that put together the retirement dinner to honor our employees. I thought that was a very nice event. The people were well received, and certainly the Fuge did an outstanding job. And I was heartened when at the end Dr. Bedden received a lengthy standing ovation from those that were in attendance. So I thought that was a wonderful event. My question is this: late last week, I believe we all received a letter from the Central Bucks School District. The highlight of that letter, it's a rather short letter, but the highlight refers to, as Centennial continues to manage this transition, we respectfully ask the board to be mindful of how Central Bucks is characterized publicly and in media responses. We are particularly concerned and disappointed about a recent comment made to 6 ABC by Board President Mary Alice Brancato, and the comment supposedly, which I guess is on tape, "We are not Central Bucks, we care about our kids here." Closing the letter indicates that comments such as these not only misrepresent Central Bucks values and those of all school districts, but undermine our shared commitment to the success and strength of public education. We are all in this great endeavor together, and that going forward, we respectfully request that Centennial's board members and administrative leadership maintain a neutral and collegial tone when referencing Central Bucks in public and in media statements. We make this request in the spirit of mutual respect and shared purpose as volunteers devoted to public education and student success. So I guess my question is, are we, since we all got this, are we to respond to this individually? Is there a proposal to respond as a school board? Or is the president going to respond to the comments directly, since they were largely directed to her?
They were directed to me, and I did respond. And I had a conversation with members of their board yesterday.
When were we going to be notified that that occurred? Otherwise, I don't know what that conversation was, so I'm inclined to respond individually.
You can respond yourself.
That's right.
I had a conversation. I didn't think I have to make everybody aware of my conversation. What I said was, we are not Central Bucks. And then I said, we care about our kids, not meaning that they didn't. Two separate sentences.
Okay. I accept
Now,
that.
I'm not sure why we had to share
because-
that, except
because they
that
wanted-
maybe it'll be in the news tomorrow.
Sure, because they wanted to put me on blast, and that's okay. I'm a big girl.
We didn't write the letter.
No, you
The
didn't.
Central Bucks School District
You're
wrote
right,
the
they
letter.
did.
We didn't write the letter.
You're right, they did. And I called the superintendent. I spoke to 3 of their school board members. I spoke to another school board member who refused to have his name put on there because he knew exactly what the nonsense was. I said, we're not Central Bucks. That's a true statement. Then I said, we care about our kids. Also a true statement. Nothing to do with them at all.
I don't know what the difference is between us and Central Bucks, except that they're bigger.
I think it's important to recognize, too, that Central Bucks was, mentioned on many occasions during the last 2 board meetings or so. So this is, as much a response to what was said at the board meeting from the community.
Very good. I'm done.
I'm sure you are. That was really, really sneaky, but amen.
When we get a letter such as
Mike.
that from a superintendent of schools
That was
addressed to
Daisy.
all of us, the public deserves to know that we received such a letter. It should not be hidden. All
right.
And we're supposed to be transparent. That's certainly not a good example of transparency in my book.
Mr. Martin, you do what you got to do.
Mrs.
Makes you
Brancato.
feel better, you go ahead.
Some of the thoughts from the past week that I've had,
Hold on a second, excuse me?
some of the thoughts I had shared on an email to everybody about transparency.
Yes.
And there's not been true transparency. So the statement about thank you for the transparency message, but what they don't know also, maybe we should put all our emails on as transparency, as one of my colleagues called me a stupid idiot with no common sense, because I made a comment about something. You cannot have an opinion. So if we want to put something out there for transparency, then let's put everything out for transparency.
Kathleen, I'm a grown-up.
I agree.
Listen, I'm a grown-up. I don't need to play a game like that. I know what I said. I said,
I know what
and
you
I've
said. I
already said
watched
it
it.
twice. Not going to say it again. I wasn't talking about them. I was saying, we are not, and we care about our kids. I mean, if you don't care about the kids, amen, don't care about them. But I do think that you do. That's all I said.
I know you did.
So if we're going to make mountains out of molehills, we continue to do that, but I'm not a child. I'm not going to play little childish games. Those can be for other people.
A phone call would have been nice, not from you. If somebody was interested or wanted to know about the letter, a phone call would have been nice.
No, because that's not what was the intent.
I know, and
And I'm okay.
don't worry, it'll be on
Listen, I'm a big girl.
It'll be in the papers tomorrow, don't worry.
I'm sure it will. Mr. Martin, yes, it will be there. You got it, Mr. Martin. Thank you. We're good.
It's not often we get a letter like this. I've never gotten a letter from another school district in 6 years I've been on the board. Maybe you have, I haven't.
No, Mr. Martin, no. I've gotten other terrible ones that I've not read out to the public because I'm a grown-up. But thank you, I agree, thank you, thank you. I know what I said, I have no qualms saying what I said. You heard it all over TV, you read it in the paper.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Can we move on?
Sure we can, because it's only me, absolutely.
No, I mean, just in general.
There's somebody else out there. Mike, you had your hand raised.
I want to change the subject a little bit here.
Sure.
I'd like to wish a happy
Sure.
250th birthday to the United States Army this coming Saturday on Flag Day. And to all of our Army veterans out there, we have one sitting up here. I know we have a few in the audience. I wanted to wish you all a happy birthday for your branch of the service.
All right, let's move on.
Just one simple comment. I do want to recognize we had a great graduation night, June, wasn't it?
Yes.
Very successful. Weather was working with us, so it was a very successful afternoon.
You good? Okay. Mr. Kinhart, you're up?
Yeah, I'll keep this brief. Our last policy committee meeting was canceled due to schedule conflicts, and because we're coming up on the end of the year and the summer break and there's things to do revolving around that, we're not going to be rescheduling another one until the startup of the next board session after the summer break. That's it.
Sure. Mr. Genhart, you want to keep going? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Goddick, I'm sorry.
So the ECIU report, I'll turn the mic on here. A lot of events has taken place. Of course, they had graduation last night at the Bucks County IU. It was held at Del Val University. Was successful again. I unfortunately did not manage to get there in time because we had a very long MBIT board meeting last night. But on top of that, the IU had a reading Olympics. There were many teams that participated, and they participated in 3 rounds. They also held a Bucks County Student Forum where 14 high schools participated, including William Tennant. They also had the Bucks County IU Student Art Gallery, and the Centennial School District was represented by Maria Gometiak. Later, they had the Chief Science Office Program, and they attended the special program in Washington, D.C., and several other competitions, took place at the IU or with the IU. There was a government STEM program. There was an invention convention program. There was a PA media and design competition. There was a STEM design challenge. They have also gotten the short-term funding for Head Start that is running out at the end of June. So they have yet to receive renewal for the future. There was an MTSS leadership program. They finished the 3rd year with the last session with a better focus on integration of special education services. And that's it, yeah.
Mrs. Crosby? Okay, so I have 2 things from PSBA. One I found really interesting: a state program boosts special educator numbers. To combat teacher shortages in special education, the Pennsylvania Department of Education implemented the Accelerated Special Educator Certification Program in 2023, which provided $1.5 million in grant funding to institutions of higher education to facilitate the process of becoming a special education teacher earlier this year. The program produced the first cohort of 140 teachers prepared to take jobs in special education in PA classrooms. The second round of awards for the program, announced on PA.gov this spring, will provide more than $1 million to 14 post-secondary institutions, helping Pennsylvania schools train more qualified special educators faster, which we desperately need, so that's a good one. And the other one, which it's kind of shocking because my son's older, but kids' media use, the data that they recorded, 51% of children ages 8 and younger, 8 and younger, now have their own mobile device, up from 45% in 2017. And then they had 39% of children ages 5 to 8 use an app or device that utilizes AI to learn about school-related materials in 2024. Which, I struggle, so I think that's amazing. And then on the average, children 8 and younger had 2 hours and 27 minutes of screen time per typical day in 2024, and it's on the rise. So I just thought that was alarming that, I know I'm stuck to my phone, but now when you're between 5 and 8 years old, you're also stuck to your phone. Yeah, something to look out for.
Mr. Arndt.
All right. Let me turn my mic on here. Unfortunately, work has not allowed me to be at the last meeting or two for the CEF, but I do want to bring up some highlights. If you go to their website under the events tab, there is still time to purchase tickets for the Ultimate Disney Experience. So please click on the link there for that. We have the 5th annual Bruce Beaton Memorial Golf Outing, which will be this coming Monday, the 16th. I believe there are still some spaces if there are some individuals that wish to participate or to take place. And then the last thing is, Giving Tuesdays. Keep in mind that an e-alert went out regarding the food pantries and the summer meal programs as well. So they will be operating during the summer for all those that are in need also. Moving right along to legislative liaison, we discussed quite a bit tonight about some of the information that is out there pending. Again, there are slews of bills that are going back and forth, making their way from appropriations, in and out of education, second and third readings. So there is a lot that is still going on out in Harrisburg. I agree with Mr. Greenwood that we're probably no closer to a budget right now than we were back in January. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, though, they'll sharpen the pencil and put something down so that there is at least some guidance. So we have an idea what's going on. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ginhart?
Yeah, quickly, as the school year is over, I'll look towards the future, and MBIT Executive Council approved the addition of a new electrical teacher last night, which increases the size of the electrical program. It's still a very popular program, so going forward to next year, anybody wants to be involved in that, you still have to get your paperwork in early, but the size of it has been expanded. And looking towards the start of the new school year, I just want to remind everybody of the Student Needy Fund that is in place to help students who need supplies for MBIT, such as cosmetology students needing a cosmetology kit, students in some trade programs needing some tools or an apron or something, or tool belt or something like that. If they can't afford it, there's a fund in place to help students that are having difficulty, and they're always taking donations for that. So if it's something you feel like you want to do, contact the MBIT and they'll tell you how to make that happen.
Thank you. We have additional community comments. You have 3 minutes. If you could come up to the microphone, state your name, what street you live on, and what township, please. Jack Bailey.
Hi, Jack Bailey. I live on Acorn Drive in Warminster. Basically, just wanted to come here and let you guys know we are putting in a processing request for an attendance exception. Our son, Nicholas, will be starting middle school in the fall. He started at Willowdale Elementary in kindergarten, and during that year, he was reassessed by the school's psychological behavior assessment team, and he was determined to be autistic. It was suggested that he switch from Willowdale and attend the autistic support classes at Davis Elementary for first grade. And since being at Davis, he's made tremendous progress while attending those classes, and the third grade support teacher decided to slowly transition him to general education classes. By fourth grade, Nick was fully transitioned from the general education classes while still attending the social skill support classes. This year, per his IEP, it was determined that Nicholas should attend his home school, which is Log College. The issue that we have with this is Nicholas has attended Davis for 5 years and has made many friends and social connections there. Unfortunately, most of those kids are going to go to Klinger and not Log College. Because Nick is autistic, he has presented he has presented with severe anxiety in the past, and changing to the new school and then losing all his friends may bring on this anxiety more and trigger him and have him lapse. So our main reason for requesting the attendance exception, our second issue, it was that the transportation from Klinger would not be provided, and we were hoping that you could also make an exception to have his busing from the local house to Klinger. And there is a bus that drives right by our neighborhood every day that it's the same bus driver that he has now, or had now. Therefore, if it is approved that he goes to Klinger, that we also get the bus transportation added.
Can you wait 1 second?
Yes, ma'am.
She asked me just to explain the process. We get a number of these. Those are exception to policy, as you're speaking to the board, so we don't grant them once we get them, because we also have been asked going forward to make sure the board has also enrollment information at each school, because it could impact a classroom. We bring those at once, and then the board reviews them. Mr. Gabriel, did we set which meeting yet? I can't remember what we did last year. Which meeting?
Yeah, it's.
The August meeting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about
okay.
a few
It's
days
August meeting.
before, unfortunately, it's a few days before the school system starts, so we probably may or may not have time, depending on how the exception's made and whether the,
It's a few days before school starts?
yes, ma'am.
That's an awful lot of anxiety for a little boy all summer.
Right.
The challenge is that if we over-enroll, it requires hiring more staff.
Understood.
And we don't have all the enrollment numbers.
Holy moly, but we can't. It would seriously affect your child, correct?
Possibly, yes. I mean,
So is it even a question?
It is up to you all. The issue that, if you remember last year, is that when we make these decisions, if it over-enrolls by your policy, we end up having to hire another $150,000 price tag teacher.
I understand that, but it would be hard for me to wait for an answer to August. This child has struggled to make friends, to do better. Do we really want to make him suffer all summer?
But it's not just him. You have multiple.
Well, can't we do them as we get them?
That was a problem. That's why we changed. Because you were doing them as they come, and then we end up over-enrolling at grade level and having to hire staff.
Does he go to ESY?
Excuse me?
Does he attend ESY?
No.
So could we do this before August?
This is their first time presenting.
No, not you. I'm asking, Mr. Gabriel, can we do this before August? I just think that's kind of,
I'm just going to, I understand your point. The reason you changed it is, but it's not about being mean. It's about your resource allocation.
I understand that.
Well, I'm going to say this, and no disrespect to you.
I understand.
On one hand, you're telling us to keep taxes low.
Yes.
And then we over-enroll a classroom when there's space somewhere else because we give an attendance exception. That triggers a $150,000 price tag. And then we have a space somewhere else, and then we have to move a teacher. That's the challenge. So you ask us to bring the data.
Yeah.
So that you know that you're making an informed decision. Well, we unfortunately don't always have the enrollment numbers until that August meeting.
So I'm not.
So I'm just trying to give you the facts.
I'm not the betting kind. So if he's doing well where he's at, why would I roll the dice and put him at another school where he may flounder? Why would I do that?
Well, but he may not. Again, our curriculum is now the same across board.
It's not.
So we try to make sure our schools are equal as much as possible. So unless there's something unique that he's not getting, it could go either way. Now, the board can do whatever they want to do. I'm just stating, we made the change because you were making decisions about something and not knowing the economic impact.
Mr. Bailey, I'm sorry.
Look, I understand what he's saying, so.
How about we have Mr. Bailey connect with Mr. Gabriel and to find out,
He already has. He's turned in his paperwork and they responded.
So you're going to have to keep up with this and just keep looking for that letter.
Understood. All right.
I was going to say, so that if, as things start to shake out throughout the summer, should it look like it's coalescing a little bit further, if we could move up the information date, if that's possible, then, I realize it's very difficult with us not knowing enrollments, with individual students coming in and out and all of that, but if we could at least leave you with the sense of, if there's something that we can do sooner, we will make an attempt to do it sooner, that we don't mean to try to put you off, but that, it's, I got 56
Mr. Harline,
kids.
and what that communication would be is they can tell him that if the numbers look like it's going to be fine, ultimately, it's your final decision. And
we would still
remember,
have
because you don't meet again till August after certain, that's the other part of it.
Yes.
There is no summer meeting.
Yeah.
And it's an exception that only you all can grant, not us, to your policy.
Mr. Bailey, send me an email in July and I'll see what I can do.
All right.
We'll see where we're at, okay?
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, and understood. And like, our biggest thing isn't really the exception, it's more the busing too, because we have to get them to the school. So that was our other.
Well, all attendance exceptions across the board have no transportation.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Ella Newman, if you could just state your name, what street you live on, what township, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Ellen Newman. I live on Longstreth Drive. And what else was I supposed to? I'm sorry.
Just Township.
Warminster.
Thank you.
I just feel, I really feel sympathy. And it's very sad to see when a school board loses the confidence of a community. The last time I was here, there were 3 rooms full of concerned citizens. And apparently, the community expressed itself very clearly, and the anger was absolutely palpable. I have neighbors who are still angry and upset about the decision not to pay attention to the community and to hire the new superintendent. I think you have to make sure you don't ignore the community's feelings. The big concern is the education of children, and this board needs to rebuild some kind of confidence with the people who live in this township. I have no idea how you're going to rebuild it, but you really, by not paying attention to the people who are here, you shattered that confidence, and it's very sad to see.
So, Ms. Newman, I just want to add that we did listen to the people here that night, but there was also other people that reached out to us, and we also listened to them.
I didn't see them here.
I didn't say they were here.
No.
But thank you for your comment, I appreciate it. Pat Mertens Boyle? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. That's it. Can I get a motion? I'm sorry, Mike, it's your turn.
All right, so schedule of board meetings, calendar of events. Tuesday, June 24th, 7 p.m., Committee of the Whole meeting, boardroom. Tuesday, July 1st, 5:30 p.m., MBIT Executive Council meeting, MBIT. Tuesday, July 15th, 7 p.m., BCIU board meeting, BCIU board meeting at the BCIU boardroom. Monday, July 28th, 5:30 p.m., MBIT Committee of the Whole, MBIT. Tuesday, August 5th, 5:30 p.m., MBIT Executive Council meeting, MBIT. Tuesday, August 19th, 7 p.m., BCIU board meeting, BCIU boardroom. Tuesday, August 19th, 7 p.m., work session, regular board meeting, boardroom, that would be for us. Monday, August 25th, 5:30 p.m., MBIT Committee of the Whole, MBIT. Tuesday, September 9th, 7 p.m., work session, regular board meeting at the boardroom, that would be for us, and motion to adjourn.
Second.